Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli. Welcome back to the show where I take your questions and answer them here in short videos. Today's question comes from Quora, and this guy asks, what do people underestimate and miscalculate when starting a business? And there's a cool thread here with some awesome answers on Quora. So thank you guys for that. My experience has always been that I remember something great my dad told me when I was young. He said, everything takes twice as long as you think, and the results are usually half as good as you expect. And so that's really been my motto in terms of like a practice I've been implementing with running and starting businesses. And actually my word of the year in 2018 was patience, because that's really the truth. I've had goals on my Trello, which is, there's a video on this YouTube about how to use Trello. It's a task management system for entrepreneurs. It's amazing. And I've had goals listed on my Trello with my team that I said, these are our 3-month goals. And sometimes it takes 6 months or a year to reach those goals because everything takes twice as long and the results are usually half as good. And sometimes we hit our goals, sometimes we exceed our goals. But I think when you are the entrepreneur and you're the person starting the business, you have this vision about how you want the company to be or how you want the world to look or how you want the product to be in the end. And what we often don't see is the distance between where we are and that end dream. And so I find for me, I could just like visualize what I want as this end result. And then it's almost as if everything in between here and now is somewhat frustrating because it's like, all this work's required and all this time and effort is required. And like, there's so many ups and downs and setbacks and frustration. And I think when you estimate how long or how much or how hard that's going to be, most people dramatically underestimate it, and then they overestimate the glamour and the glitz and the lifestyle of it. So I find that it's way more than people anticipate, and the long term takes way longer than people think when it comes to starting a business. And I think the thing that people miscalculate the most is just how much work is involved. Like the adage for me has always rang true. Like you work 60 hours a week for yourself, so you don't have to work 40 for someone else. And that's really true about entrepreneurship in the beginning. And that's something that nobody's really telling you. We all, love The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and it's an amazing book and it's impacted my life in a big way. I read it when I was 18. But, the 4-Hour Workweek, it's like entrepreneurs aren't working 4 hours a week. And if they are, what I felt like wasn't underlined in the book, and with all due respect to Tim, I love his content, one of my favorite influencers, but what wasn't outlined in the book was that you have to work 60 hours a week to get to the point where you're working 4 hours a week. You have to set up the business and all the systems to get to the point where it's automated. And that's if you can automate it. Some businesses aren't automatable. Maybe running a restaurant is an example, I don't know. But it takes so long to get to that point where that's a reality. And most people think like, delusions of grandeur. I'm just going to start this business and it's going to run and this and this and this is going to happen. And because their expectations are here and the reality is here, what happens is at the first sign of failure or setback, they give up or quit. But a great quote by Randy Pausch always brings me back home on this subject. And it says, brick walls aren't there to keep you away from doing what you want. They're there to keep the other people out and to show you how bad you really want it. That's from Randy Pausch's last lecture. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. But it's an amazing quote, and it's so true because there are so many brick walls you're gonna encounter on the way from where you are at your inception point of starting a business, or even if your business is up and running, to the point where you're scaling your business, that there's gonna be a lot of setbacks. When I ran my digital marketing company and we did lead generation in auto insurance, we did this for years. And we were struggling at a few basic thresholds of, generating, 10, 20, 50 leads a day. And to get up to 500 leads a day took a lot of effort and a lot of work and time. And so it just takes longer than you think. And I would say doubling the amount of time you expect something to take and dividing the results in half is a good expectation. Now, you should still set your goals high. It's not to say that you shouldn't have ambitious goals. And I think, Steve Jobs was probably the most famous for this, for having impossibly unrealistic goals, or Elon Musk. And that's necessary to achieve greatness in business. And I think I try to push my team and myself to do that, where I say, what's realistic? And they say this, this will take this long. And I say, okay, let's do it in half the time. And if we fail, great, we're failing forward. And I always set really ambitious goals. I say, okay, how many people do we want to join our live event? What would be an amazing number? And I say, okay, 20 people. And then I say, what would be the number that would just make me think that's unbelievable? I can't believe that happened. That's ridiculous. I say, 20 people, okay, 30 people, 40 people. Okay, let's make our goal 40. And if we fail and hit 20, at least we, shot for the moon and landed amongst the stars. And so that is always what I encourage people to do. But then it's also about the balance of not feeling set back when you hit the reality spike, or when you have a week of things going bad, or a month, or it takes a year to set up the business, and you're literally, you expect your website that you're going to open to take a month. The developers tell you it's going to take a month, and it takes 3. And I've dealt with that all the time when you're working with people in teams and stuff like that, or your team doesn't work out, or your people don't work out. Like, there's so many setbacks and things that happen that I feel like that's just so underestimated, and people just dramatically underestimate the work involved. They see the highlight reel of entrepreneurship on Instagram, and they're looking at this and they see, this beautiful photo of this, or whatever it is, of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have, stacks of cash in high society and a beautiful me on a beach chilling with a laptop and like hashtag laptop lifestyle, and they see that entrepreneurship through the lens of the highlight reel, when in reality they're not seeing the immense amount of work and grind that's behind it. And like, sometimes I'm guilty of this too. When I share things on Instagram, I'm sharing the highlight reel of my life. That's just the truth. Like, I show the times that I'm out on a beautiful walk, or I'm hustling at the gym, or I'm making something cool, or I'm creating something awesome, and like, my life looks incredible if you watch Instagram, right? Because you're seeing 60 seconds of my day, and who doesn't have 60 amazing seconds, and it looks like I'm not doing shit all day. But in reality, the other 23 and a half hours is like are spent doing something. Even if it's sleeping so I could recover, so I could perform better the next day, or whatever it is. It's like you're always engaged in something if you're an entrepreneur. And I think the last thing that people underestimate is just the difficulty of being the last one in the business. That you can't turn to somebody else and say it's their fault. You can't push the work onto someone else. It's always you. So at the top of this funnel, the top of the food chain in your business is you. And that's hard to deal with, because it means that every problem and responsibility and thing that's broken, you can blame your team, but in the end, you're the one that suffers as the entrepreneur. It's your fault. It's your business. And so ultimately, understanding how much responsibility that is, if you're going to scale your business, if you're going to have a team, is something that people underestimate, and how time consuming and taxing that ultimately is mentally, and just the fact that you're never fully turned off. Like, I went to Sardinia for 3 weeks. Just got back from Sardinia for 3 weeks in the summer, and just thinking of like business even while I'm on vacation, just because there's always something to do. There's always something that's going to go on. There's always something you can improve. There's always something you could do to make your business better. And just the fact that you're never 100% turned off, because if there's a fire or a problem, ultimately it comes here to my cell phone and I have to put it out. And so that's just something that you have to be prepared for. You have to be prepared for the fact that your mind is going to be wandering at your kid's baseball game, or your mind's going to be wandering when you're in a movie to the problems of your business. Whereas when you work for someone else, when you leave home at 5, you ultimately, if your restaurant isn't getting customers, that's not your problem if you're a waiter at the restaurant or you're the manager of the restaurant, because ultimately it's the owner's problem. You're still on your salary, and there's respect, but that's just a fundamental difference of being an entrepreneur, and something you got to prepare yourself mentally for. And if this doesn't sound like exciting to you, I wouldn't even say acceptable. I would say absolutely exciting. Like, yes, I want that responsibility. I want to lead the team. I want to be the one that my reputation's at stake. I want to be the one that I have the last say and the last say. If that's not exciting, then the game isn't for you. And that's just the harsh truth that people aren't telling you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel if you like it. Leave a like and a comment, and share this with someone that you think would benefit. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your time. Cheers.